So the topic in this short week has seems to be morphing into seek and you shall find. And there's an interesting phrase in the recovery world. It says it's old-timey religious language, but we take it for what it's worth, and it's worth a lot when properly understood. And it says, God could and would if he were sought. God could and would if he were sought. So I talked yesterday about listening to a very well-known YouTube neuroscientist, very popular nowadays, really cool dude. I wouldn't characterize him as spiritual by any sense of the imagination, but it's nice to hear the story from the physical neurochemical aspect. But he made it very clear that it's the seeking that delivers the constant satisfaction and fulfillment of existence. And oftentimes it's the acquisition, the big acquisition you seek. You build your tech startup and you're seeking, and then finally the big day comes and you go public and you have your $7 billion. And then there's a dopamine crash inside of our brain because the seeking has suddenly been fulfilled, and that constant daily dopamine drip and release that gives us the feeling of craving something, but a kind of very positive craving that we're moving towards something that's very valuable, and the journey itself is the thing that matters. Of course, not in any way to discount the wonderful fulfillment when we get what we want, but if that's not properly oriented, oftentimes the journey is the suffering, and the fulfillment is the great disappointment. And I think a lot of modern humans can relate to that. So as I was thinking about this and the phrase God could and would if he were sought, it occurred to me it doesn't say God could and would if he were found. It's the seeking. And so I'm driving the point home, especially for myself, that to seek is to find. They are one and the same. Seeking and finding, it's not like two sides of a scale or an equation. Seeking and finding are the same thing. Seeking is aiming or putting your attention on something, and as a result of seeking, the thing that we're looking for swells, expands, increases within our experience. And as that happens, and as we break the addiction to perfection and instead inculcate progress, not perfection, inside of our being, then it's the seeking, it's the daily seeking that we do that gives us the constant, dopamine release, if we want to use neurochemical language, but it gives us that trickle, oftentimes that expands into a flood of well-being and satisfaction and contentment with where we're at in the journey, realizing that in an infinite universe, we'll never exhaust the whole thing. In any given moment, we're always joyfully incomplete, but always seeking. And in the seeking, we find the daily satisfactions and appreciations, challenges, playfulness, and creativity and innovation that seeking brings to us. And when we realize that seeking and finding are the same thing, then we realize the spiritual creatures that we are. And by aiming ourselves at things, that's what increases in our life. It also heavily emphasizes that we shouldn't seek or pay attention to things that we don't like. This is the great meaning of the phrase, resist not evil. So when there's something unpleasant or despicable in our existence, we don't get rid of it by paying more attention to it. We actually get rid of it by paying less attention to it. So if you're a seeker, and if you're on this call, you're finding every day, you're finding more and more and more, and your brain, from the material aspect, is squirting out a satisfying dose of dopamine every single day. So God could and would if he were sought. Don't worry about finding, don't worry about it. Just engage in happy seeking. Happy seeking, my friends. See you tomorrow.